Lesson 38. We're dealing with ratios. I'm just going to test this out here, make sure this is all going to fit on the screen. Slide this over a little. So when we get to that problem. Alright, I just might have to do some adjusting as we go. We'll get started by first talking about what a ratio is and what we're going to do with them. When something is a ratio, we're going to have an equal sign here. A lot of times we'll call these proportions. 1/2 is proportional to 3/6. The important thing is here we're going to work with an equal sign. And when we have this equal sign, we can perform something called cross products. Product is the answer to a multiplication problem. Cross products just means that if we have two fractions that are the same, two ratios, we can multiply the numerator by the denominator diagonally. We would have 1 times 6 here, and that is always going to be equal to the other denominator times the other numerator. 1 times 6 will be equal to 2 times 3. We can prove that by multiplying it out. 6 equals 6. That's always true if there's an equal sign here. If there's an equal sign here, we assume that we can use cross products. They can't trick us. 3 times 40 will equal 4 times 30. And we multiply that out and we see that it's true. So if any one of these numerators or denominators is missing, we can find it as long as we have the other three, knowing that cross products works, because we are going to set up an equation. That's what we did here. We set up an equation. We said the numerator times the denominator will equal the denominator times the numerator. We made an equation. We put an equal sign in something that's making an equation. Here again, we said if this is true that it's equal, then the numerator times the denominator will equal the denominator times the numerator. So we can set up an equation, and if one is missing, we can use inverse operations to solve the equation. Let's look at an example. 2/4 equals L over 100. We're trying to find L. The directions would be solve. We're solving for L, so we need to get L equals. First thing we do is we set up an equation. Because there's an equal sign here, we know we can apply cross products. We know that this denominator times this denominator, I'm having a hard time talking today, numerator times denominator will equal this denominator times numerator. That's an equation. 2 times 100 equals 4 times L. Simplify the left side. 200 equals 4L. What are we doing to poor little L? We're multiplying it by 4. How do we undo that? Divide by 4. What we do to one side of an equation, we must do to the other. We're just using inverse operations. L equals 200 over 4. And 200 divided by 4 is 50. L equals 50. First step is to set up the equation. After that, we'll use inverse operations to solve. Here's another one. This one worked out nicely in that it was a nice whole number, 50. That's not always the case. Here's an example. We've got 4 over m equals 21 over 5. Because of the equal sign, we know we can set up an equation using cross products. 4 times 5 equals 21m. 21 times m. So 4 times 5 is 20 equals 21m. What are we doing to poor little m? Multiplying m by 21. How do we undo that? Divide m by 21. What we do to one side, we have to do to the other to keep it an equation. These reduce to 1. 1 times m is m. m equals 20 over 21. So this is not as clean as the other one where we just had a nice whole number, but that is the correct answer. So how do we apply that to a word problem? Like all word problems, we write down what we know, and we write down what we're trying to find out, and we write down In this case, the ratio of pigs to goats was 7 to 5. I'm going to write that pigs 7, goats 5. I'm going to write that in terms of a ratio, 7 to 5. For every 7 pigs, there are 5 goats. If there were 91 pigs, how many goats would there be? So we're trying to find out how many goats if there were 91 pigs. So it's going to be proportional. It's going to be the same ratio of pigs to goats. The question is, if the ratio is 7 to 5 and there were 91 pigs, how many goats would there be? We're trying to find this G. We know that if these two are equal, the equal sign here, we can use cross products. So 7 times G, or 7G, should equal 5 times 91. 91 times 5. 7G should equal 5 times 90 would be 450. Plus 1 is 400, or plus 1 times 5 is 5 more, 455. Our goal is to get G by itself. How many goats? That means G by itself. We are multiplying G by 7. To undo that, we divide G by 7. Inverse operation of multiplication is division. G equals 455 over 7. And we're going to find out that that's going to be 65. 7 times 6 is 42. G equals 65. There would be 65 goats if there were 91 pigs. We would expect there to be more pigs than goats because that's what the ratio indicates, and that's what there is here. Let's do one more. This is where I'm going to have to move my box over a little bit. The same barnyard, the ratio of chickens to ducks was 9 to 4. So C for chickens, D for ducks. I'll do this a little faster. There are 9 chickens for every 4 ducks, a little more than 2 to 1 ratio. If there were 108 chickens, how many ducks would there be? Again, cross products says, since these two are equal, since we've got an equal sign here, 9 times D will equal 4 times 108. Simplify. 4 times 108. 4 times 100 is 400. 4 times 8 is 32. 432. And we're going to have to divide by 9. Divide by 9 to find D. 432. 9. $48 ducks. That is using ratios to solve ratio problems.